Recently, just outside of our community in Novi, a massive 42-inch water main break last week shut down faucets all across several communities and towns in western Oakland County, including neighbors as close to home as Commerce. Here in West Bloomfield, the township issued an outdoor watering ban in an effort to support the Great Lakes Water Authority, the city of Novi, and other communities in the restoration efforts following that water main break. Here with more insight on is the Water and Sewer Utilities Director for West Bloomfield Township, Justin Taylor, with us on the Splash Live. Director Taylor, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, Tyler, thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on to dive a little bit deeper into this issue, because while it's a massive water main break outside of our community, that break does have an impact on our water systems here in greater West Bloomfield, as there's so much connection between Novi, between Wixom, Commerce, West Bloomfield, and all of Southeast Michigan through the Great Lakes Water Authority. So I want to begin with, when there is a break like that, a 42-inch water main break early in the morning, just before 7:30 on September 25th. It happens in Novi. How does that impact systems all the way down the line, even as far away as here in West Bloomfield?
Yeah, so Tyler, there are 5 treatment plants in the Great Lakes Water Authority system, and that 42-inch main that broke feeds, like you said, multiple communities. So we are on that main. That is one of our main feeds, but we are further east from that break. So when they isolate that down to make repairs, we were not one of the communities that was at a loss of the water there. They isolate west of us, and we stayed with that main is still feeding water to West Bloomfield, basically.
And so that requires some changes in our community, certainly in other communities like Novi and Wixom, Commerce, and others in that general area of Oakland County. Immediately, boil water advisories advising people to, if they do have water pressure still, that they boil that water to remove the possibility of harmful bacteria getting into their drinking water, their cleaning water, etc., or that they use bottled water. But here in West Bloomfield, just shortly after that water main break last week, the township issued an outdoor watering ban. How does something like that help to support the efforts in restoring water in other parts of the county by restricting some use of water here in West Bloomfield, where there wasn't as significant necessarily of an impact from that water main break?
Yeah, so by us asking our residents to not use any unnecessary water, any outdoor water at this time, we have 2 emergency connections to Commerce Township, and those are open right now. So the water that Commerce Township, Wixom, and Walled Lake are receiving is coming through the West Bloomfield system. We're just asking our citizens to limit the amount of water that they're using to help support pushing all that water through the West Bloomfield distribution system into those neighboring communities to help keep their pressures up, hopefully get them out of the boil water advisory sooner than later. And that way everybody's got water. We're just asking that we limit what we use, whatever you can do to hold off on using any outdoor water really helps those neighboring communities.
And it's not a situation that we're unfamiliar with here in Greater West Bloomfield. Just a few years back, shortly before the COVID-19 pandemic by a couple of years, there was a similar water main break here in Greater West Bloomfield that caused a water outage, boil water advisory for several days on end here, and support came in from other communities as well, through the Great Lakes Water Authority, through just neighboring townships and cities surrounding Greater West Bloomfield. So when an emergency regarding our water and those utilities does happen in a community nearby, what are some of the additional ways that maybe perhaps a community like West Bloomfield Township may support a city like Novi in these efforts and the Great Lakes Water Authority, or vice versa if something like this were to happen again here in West Bloomfield Township?
Yeah, you said it very well there. So like I said, we have those 2 emergency connections open to Commerce right now. Those would go the opposite direction. If we were in need those communities to our west could feed West Bloomfield. We've got connections on our eastern border with Bloomfield Township, on our southern border with Farmington Hills. So, we work as a region here and try to keep everybody with safe, potable drinking water, and that goes both directions. In the case of this break, we never lost pressure to where we needed to go into a boil water. So if you're in West Bloomfield, you haven't had to, and you don't need to, unless notified, boil your water before consuming it. So we're able to supply our neighboring communities with that water. But in turn, had this break happen further east of where it's at on that 42-inch line, and it did affect West Bloomfield, it may not affect Novi. It may not have affected Wixom. And those communities could assist through the emergency connections to one another. They could be pumping their water to us just like we are doing to them.
So now what determines whether or not a community would fall under a boil water advisory? I'm out in Western Oakland County, right around the area where this water main break had happened. Initially, I wasn't on a boil water advisory. A few days ago, my community began to go under that. I read some about water pressure does have an impact on it. I've got regular water pressure, but I'm still under this advisory. There's obviously a reason behind that. What are some of the motivating factors that GLEWA or local municipalities put into effect that decide whether or not a boil water advisory is advised to the community?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a state of Michigan regulatory thing. It's if you have significant loss of pressure within your water system, which could lead to bacterial contamination. So to put a number to it, if you reach 20 psi or less in your system, the conditions exist that harmful bacteria from outside could make its way into that system. So the boil water, like for instance, Commerce and Wixom initially did not have a boil water with this break. We were able to feed water to them quickly enough to keep them up. But it was the next morning where what's called high demand, or our peak hour of many surrounding communities between like 5 and 7 a.m. That's when we're using the most water. When that occurred, those communities then drop below that 20 psi mark, which then triggers a boil water advisory. And that's why they're in that now. Yes, you do have water if you happen to be in those communities, but until two BAC-T sample tests come back negative for BAC-T 24 hours apart, that advisory cannot be lifted.
And here close to home in Greater West Bloomfield, the outdoor watering ban still remains in effect to help support neighboring communities that our water systems and those emergency systems are currently helping to flow water into, like Commerce next door. Justin, I received that notification here from our team at Civic Center TV over systems like Nixle. I'd imagine that's going to be a communication tool that will be used by the Water and Sewer Utilities Department to notify when that ban does come to a close. What can we expect in terms of a timeline for that? Is there any estimation as of now, as we're on October 1st doing this interview live, that residents of Greater West Bloomfield can expect to have that outdoor watering ban be lifted?
Yeah. Initially, right after the break, GLWA, Great Lakes Water Authority, gave us a 10 to 15 day window for full repairs on this to be back in regular service. So it's, the end is near, but until they can energize that 42-inch main and take out all these communities back to normal service, we're just asking our residents to limit what they're using outdoors to help keep those communities with water. I would say late next week would be the worst case scenario, but please just, if you don't need to, don't use that outdoor water, and we can keep our neighboring communities with water to use.
So again, if you're watching online, on demand, or you're watching this back in a show such as the Best of the Splash Live, this interview happened live Wednesday morning, October 1st of 2025. So there may be updates, wbtownship.org, a good place to go. Signing up for Nixle alerts in your zip code here in West Bloomfield, another place for those updates. And keep in mind, as Justin Taylor, the Director of Water and Sewer Utilities in West Bloomfield, just mentioned, 10 to 15 day restoration window from the water main break that occurred originally Thursday, September 25th in the city of Novi. So that's about where we're at in that timeline. Justin, before we let you go, this is an emergency that has previously affected Greater West Bloomfield, currently affecting Novi, and in some other ancillary ways affecting nearby communities still at this time. But as we come out of the month of September, National Preparedness Month, and now into the month of October, we can still focus on the preparation efforts for if and when this should happen in our community going forward. What can residents of West Bloomfield take away from this current scenario as far as lessons to help them be prepared in the event that a water main break may occur in our community in the future?
Yeah. Again, we lucked. West Bloomfield did luck out in this one, where it does not directly affect us. We're able to help others. That could very easily have been here, where we would be utilizing the help of Great Lakes Water Authority or other member partners, such as those as our surrounding communities. And we don't get a warning for this kind of thing. We don't. So it's just, it's always a good idea to maybe keep a case of bottled water, something that until, things get figured out during a water main break, whether or not it triggers a boil water advisory, that you would have on hand just for in an emergency situation. And, it is eye-opening. Now we've had, multiple breaks over several years on this large transmission line, but it's comforting to know that, as a region, we come together and can help each other out in these situations.
And for more updates, again, sign up for Nixle Alerts, Nixle in Greater West Bloomfield. They are free alerts. Of course, text message and other data rates with your phone plan may apply to that. We'll have more information on that in just a moment. Director Taylor, any last insight for us as we continue through this situation at this time?
Again, just if you could not use water, that's not absolutely necessary, and we'll keep assisting our neighbors here. And we do appreciate it, and we will get the word out when that ban has been lifted. Thank you all for doing what you can do to help support the regional system here.
And we'll help you keep the community informed on that front as well. Director Taylor, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.